Hello, if we've never met before, my name is Rachel and I channel messages for the collective as well as my own healing. And to be completely honest, I'm going through a little bit of a transformation and change and crying on and off a lot, and my physical body is really freaking out, and yet all I want to do is share messages. So now that I'm in a channeling mode and zone, that is what I am going to do today. And today I want to talk about so many things. But what started to come to mind right before I started to hit record was this. So Buddhism can often be called a religion. However, I don't really see it that way. The form of Buddhism that I really found is kind of more of a philosophy. One example is there was a woman who was from India, and she practiced Hinduism, and she still also practiced this Buddhist practice. And she did say, I kind of view Hinduism as like my religion, and this Buddhism as a form of philosophy and how one can live their lives. Okay, but one of the core or roots or underlying beliefs or parts of the philosophy of Buddhism is that suffering is a part of life. And I don't like that because I like it. I like it because it is a reality. And again, the form of Buddhism that I learned from or in or about, there are 10 worlds on our planet. So kind of like realities and like heaven and hell, and I couldn't list all the worlds for you, but there's like animality. But basically, every single human experience that you have, that's all here, right? And the Buddhism, where I really liked it and what kind of differed from Christianity, and what I see people do a lot is like, if God loved me, then why is this happening to me, right? Or why God, why me? So that is a victim mentality, right? And we just want God to change everything and fix it. But again, why I like Buddhism, and it's always going to be like this philosophy and part of my teachings that I teach people in my work and how I help people, is because it's all about empowerment. Because empowerment and this form of Buddhism, it says that Buddha nature, or again, what I've now come to believe and understand and realize, that God nature or God creator source is in every single one of us, right? So it's this completely different way to view the world if you see that you can change any situation instead of something externally bigger than you. Like, yes, there is a God creator source, whatever, or if people don't believe that, that's fine, but it's still going to be, well, what are you going to do with this life experience that you have right now? Given your circumstances, the choices that you've made, your free will, here's the situation and scenario and the life output that you're experiencing now, right? Lots of factors. I could even get into past lives. I could get into cosmic energies. I could get into your galactic body. Like, there are a lot of things that play that not everyone's even consciously aware of and ready to hear. But again, this is where you're at right now, right? So if you don't like it, you need to change it, okay? Or there's also, so I have an aunt who did a lot of therapy, and she's into spiritual stuff too. It's been a long time since me and her have connected on that more. It was probably more like 10 years ago. But because she was doing therapy at an age where like my mother wasn't, for example, she had a lot of nuggets of wisdom for me. And one of those big takeaways was, in life, if there's a situation that you like, okay, again, your reality, your existence, maybe there's things you don't like and maybe there's things you like. However, acceptance is this really powerful tool. So again, in this religion or philosophy of Buddhism, it's like taking responsibility and accountability for where you are now, because if you don't take that first step, you actually can't go about changing it. Okay, so again, I know a little bit about addiction and kind of the road to recovery, I suppose. A huge piece of that not only the 10 steps and meetings and support and, doing the work, but there's a couple good points here. One is surrender to your higher power, right? Again, okay, I admit that I am, this addiction is a part of my life. Okay, so that's kind of the acceptance piece. Because if you're in denial, you're not ready to change. What was the other point I wanted to make with that? Oh, and then another piece of the process is apologizing and taking accountability and responsibility for how you treated people and the actions that you took. Okay? So, again, I haven't had that personal experience for me. My more personal experience was I want to have happy and healthy relationships, and I want to be happy and healthy in my life. So I needed to, or I decided to, as a part of my Buddhist practice and where I was at the time, was to talk to my parents about how I experienced my childhood at different points. Because overall it was good. I think, I know on the surface and the outside looking in, it looked a certain way. And overall, I was very happy. But then just as an adult, as like I said, I wanted to move forward, I kind of had to shed some light on how their relationship affected me, or how certain things that they said, right? Like how I felt when those things occurred. And it was very interesting because my dad, he can have a very compassionate and empathetic side, and he was like, I'm so sorry, thank you for sharing that with me. And he's a Cancer son, by the way, but he's more of the parent that I've had more intense lessons from also. And then my mom, she's a Scorpio sun. She was like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. So she wasn't taking accountability and responsibility. I get how it can feel defensive, because it's there can be a story that says I'm attacking how you chose to raise me. But, like I said, that's what I just needed to share at that point. And you're going to get mixed reactions of where people are at with their levels of consciousness and what they're ready to really take in, or what they're not ready to accept or take accountability for, right? But back to the beginning point of when I said, part of this Buddhist philosophy is that suffering is a part of life. There is not one person on this planet who doesn't know what suffering's like. But you could even say there are animals that know what suffering's like, right? And there are plants that die, right? So you can't just say, only humans know what it's like to suffer on this planet. Earth is a very harsh planet of life and death, right? Those lessons are kind of harsh. Like I said, let's go back in time, okay? There were reptiles or dinosaurs for millions of years on this planet, and there were different eras, right? The Mesozoic, Jurassic, Triassic, if I know my dinosaur knowledge correctly. So those eras of dinosaurs also learned the harsh realities of death, right? When they got wiped out. And guess what happened after that? Mammals started to be, right? And humans are very new on this scale. But even in, again, the planet today, right? When you look at dogs that have been rescued, like my mom has a rescue dog. She was found down in, I think, Kansas City. And they thought she was about a year. And at that time, she was probably about a year, and she had a litter of puppies. So poor, sweet mama's dog, right? She knew what suffering was like. She was a single mom living on the streets in a loud city, and she had to figure out how to survive and take care of the babies that she had. Right? There are kittens, there are cats, there are polar bears right now who understand suffering, or not maybe understand it, but who have experienced it. Right? I do know that elephants and orcas actually grieve. They know what the grief process is, and they actually do it. I don't know when it comes to the extent and level, like lions, for example. I know that female lionesses can have babies and a male can come in and kill the babies if it's a different male. Or is it even the actual dad? No, it must be another rival male that will come in and kill offspring that isn't his, I think. And again, I'm not sure of a lion's grief process or if they do. But that is a very harsh reality. Again, I don't know the level and extent to which a lion does experience suffering. But the whole point I'm trying to make here is that acceptance and reality of there's going to be hard things that are really difficult and you're going to suffer and you're going to hurt at times. That's an acceptance and reality, because what I see happening, especially with social media, right? Like, and just in modern life, we're always like, hey, how you doing? And what's the common response? Good. And not being real and authentic and actually diving in, or where people can feel like they can bring their heavy, uncomfortable stuff, is why we keep experiencing the same stuff over and over in regards to violence, in regards to the A word, ABU, right? Violence, that cycles of women not being respected, of the R word, right? Not consent, of power over other people, of just all this stuff. Like, this is why, because this suffering happens and it's real, and we don't have safe spaces to talk about these intense feelings. Sure, go to therapy. Well, guess what? Not everyone is even actually able to do that if they don't have insurance or they can't have the funds, right? And I always go to the extreme example of like a homeless person. Like, they literally have nothing. How do you expect them to go do the work of going to therapy when they don't even have somewhere to live, when they don't have food? I was told in a reading years ago that my compassion is one of my gifts and my superpowers, and I understand why. Because I have compassion for everything and everybody that suffers. Like, and I'm empathic too, right? And I've felt my own levels and layers of suffering to degrees that other people haven't. So I am very, very sensitive to it. Like, again, I understand and have, like, addicts have always fascinated me. I always liked the show Intervention, even like as a teenager. You know, I'm like, this is fascinating. Why does this person make the decisions that they do? Right? They're fulfilling a need. There's a problem, and these sorts of substances are solutions. So again, I just want to bring home the point, like, suffering is real, and there are ways and tools and tips and tricks that have helped me to not suffer as much. And that is what I share with my audience and the people that I help, because unfortunately we just don't have a great toolkit for this deep stuff that happens, and then we just run around and pretend like it's okay and act like it's not there. It's just all a facade. If you want to go deeper and you actually want to break these cycles, like, this is the level of inner work that I've done, or that I teach people and that I help other people see. Like, that's what you need to get into. So I've also talked about this before. That's why talk therapy, yeah, it's great. You can have understandings and realizations and be like, oh my gosh, like, I wasn't even aware that I did that. And the thing with communication and talking and the logical brain is that it happens in the logic part of the brain. So when we go deeper into trauma, that's the amygdala, that's the somatics of the body and the nervous system and how we're wired. So that's why I've found things like the vagus nerve and shadow work and energy work and Tai Chi and Qigong and supporting your cells of your body. That's how we can go deeper too. Because again, when I started all this stuff, I was like, mindset, manifestation. And yeah, that helped. It's definitely a piece of it. All that, like, rewiring your beliefs and your limiting beliefs, huge part of this entire process, right? In addition to understanding that sometimes life is going to be difficult, so let's have actual tools and toolkits in my toolkit to overcome this, and part of that is acceptance and just sitting with the crappiness, right? Because if you choose to numb with a substance, or you choose to pretend like it's not there, you're going to cause more health issues in the long term. You're going to react to people in meaner ways. You're going to not be true to yourself. You're going to have resentment. Like, this is the level to which I see the world, and I am so happy and grateful that I can just share these messages now, because the world is dying for them. So if you're listening to this, it's not an accident. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being your deep self. I'm always here to listen to your story. I love to share and swap stories. I'm also here if you want more one-on-one deeper support. So when it comes to coaching, that is going to be, yes, it's conversations. However, I also do energy work and more tools and tips and tricks to start to raise your vibration, to overcome patterns. So sometimes those may be more spiritual. Sometimes they are going to be like emotional work. Okay, so I'm very holistic. I can't just choose one thing. So that's coaching. And then if you just want to do like energy work, that's fine too. Again, so energy work has no limits. So it could be like a physical pain. It could be for emotional pain. We can do past life stuff. We can do cellular work. We can do just a lot of really cool stuff with energy work. I also admit, like, I am not certified in one energetic tool. I did take a Reiki course, but the way that my healing just flows, it's always from love, light, and compassion. I can see chakras, I can clear them out, and then, I don't know, it's just super cool. So I can always share more about that. And then readings is kind of the other thing right now, which would be, it's kind of like spiritual coaching. So I would say coaching is like a longer term kind of commitment, right? To really get into break up patterns. But a reading might just be like a tune-up, if you will, right? And looking at my journey, I've actually had a number of readings, and that was probably because I really found a lot of value in those readings. I didn't need to always work with a coach long term. But listening to different readers and gathering more like I just got a reading last night, actually. I haven't had one for a while. Like I said, I've been really struggling. I found one online that I don't think I've used before, and it was pretty affordable, and I like cried the entire time. She was like, "You've got this, just, go on your path." And then I asked a couple specific questions, and I want to reread it again today, because again, I'm just like going through it right now. So yeah, if you want more one-on-one support, that's what I got. Thank you again so much for being here. Again, I share information to help people become their most empowered and happiest, healthiest selves. So if we actually kind of understand how Earth works more, and you can logically take that in, I do 100% think that can actually help people become more of who they're meant to be. And I say that, again, only from compassion. I say that from love and light. Here's the harsh realities and harsh lessons that you're going to learn. And how do you alchemize that, or turn all of that intensity into, oh my gosh, I can still actually be okay on this planet. That's what I stand for. If you're listening to this, I have a feeling you care about that too. So thank you so much for being here. And I'll see you very soon. Bye.